Hello, hello. Good morning. Coffee talk bright and early today. We have Ayla coming on to join us today to talk about marketing, spirituality, human design, and we'll probably get pretty deep with those. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning to you. Good morning to you. How's everybody doing today? As you're hopping on, anything that you'd like to share about your design? We'd love to know who's joining us. Hello. Hi, Lael. Hi, Nick. Hi, Sammy. Good morning, Anita. Good morning. Good morning. I'm excited to have Ayla on because we have a shared life experience that I didn't realize until recently. And I'm like, wow, how you can have something so similar with somebody that lives across the world. Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Teresa. Let's see. Maybe.
Hey.
Bright and early.
It's early AF for me here right now, so
I know, I wonder.
I woke up like 10 minutes ago.
Yep, I got my water. Morning, Jen.
I actually went to bed early last night, but I kept waking up in the witching hour.
Oh.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm excited for this live too. I was feeling a little like, oh, the time change is so different. Every time we have a guest on from like a completely different part of the world, I'm like, did I get it correct? Like, they schedule it, so they know, but I'm just always like, ah.
I don't think it's that big of a time difference in Europe, right? It is, but it's the same day
There,
at least,
it's the same
right?
day. Yeah.
So it's probably the evening for her.
Yeah.
It's when it's Australia and New Zealand that I'm like, what day is it? What? So your Saturday will be my Friday. The
Yeah.
things we do for y'all. No, I'm just kidding. It's a labor of love.
Teresa wakes up early for today. Yes, Sammy's sleeps have been weird. Sleeps have been weird.
Seems like everybody's having crazy dreams. I had crazy dreams last night.
I haven't seen Ayla hop in yet, so I'm just checking.
We're on emotional timing today.
Oh, that's true. That is true. I'm learning that in our intensive. We have Teresa and I are running an intensive for generator types right now, and sacral, we're just like pop in and and emotionals, it's like they trickle in and
Slow trickle.
slow trickle, and they just yes, crazy dreams, insane dreams. Oh man, the dreams.
The dreams.
My husband doesn't dream, and he dreamt the other day, and he was like, it was like a movie and all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that's how it is when I dream every night. Yeah.
Does Ayla know that we're on Coffee Talk?
Yeah.
Because she just messaged me and said we're going live, right?
Oh, do you want to hop out and message her back?
Yeah.
Everyone around you has these crazy dreams the last few days except for you. I don't think you're missing out. The dreams are like, my hair's a little wild. I woke up this morning like an hour before my alarm, and then I drifted back, and then I just had these wild dreams. I'm like, what the heck? What is going on? Oh, I can invite her. Oh, yeah. Good call. I don't know if we follow her, so sometimes it won't let me invite people that we don't follow, but I'm not sure. So we'll see. Good morning, Sara. Good morning, Charlene. Yeah, we have, I think today, let me check, today's fourth line day, I believe. 42-4. Yep, fourth line day. There we go. There's Ayla and Teresa. All right.
Fourth line day is perfect day for a chat.
I know.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
You
I
look
was just
so...
looking at both of your personal profiles and like waiting, but didn't think of going here.
Teresa had that feeling. She goes, does she know it's on Coffee Talk? And I was like, I think so. And then
I love how you look in the shadows right now. It looks so mysterious.
They say to not put yourself in the sunlight, but I'm enjoying it so much. Like, this is a good place to be.
Yeah.
This is a good taste to talk from to you guys.
Happen.
all right. Well, thanks for joining us today. I've been really excited to have you on. I remember like the first time I ever saw you, your magnetism was just palpable. And I was like, whoa, who is this woman? And your presence with yourself is remarkable. And then I found out you're a manifesting generator, and all my conditioning about what a manifesting generator was like blown away, because I was like this calm, present, focused, magnetic person. And I was like, wow. So just to let you, like, knowing you and seeing you and learning about you, I've really learned that manifesting generators, we don't have to be hyper. We don't have to be like going. And so I just want to recognize you for that, because it really made an impact on me.
Oh, I've never heard someone say it that way, and combining the manifesting generator with that kind of presence and almost kind of like slowness. So it's really, really beautiful to hear. And my two projector channels, they're like, woo, they're like cheering for the recognition here. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is such a like one-dimensional picture of the manifesting generator, because my boyfriend is joking all the time that I am like a vroom vroom, like this Ferrari, but it's more my energy that he can feel as a projector than me outwardly like running around. And I find often some projectors who are like way quicker, faster, like moving around more than I do. I have, of course, my solar plexus, but also my environment arrow. I never call it by its correct name because nobody understands it, but it's facing right. So if I'm in the right environment, I'm like chilling, I'm like observing, and I'm not becoming like really, really active. And I really loved Amy Leah. She talked about astrology and like fixed signs and cardinal signs, and that you can be a manifesting generator with a fixed sign and not kind of being all the time kind of initiating all these different things. And I'm a Leo, which I didn't know, but it is a fixed sign. And I was like, I can be chill And over time, I will do a lot of things, but it looks very relaxed. It doesn't look like I'm running around. And I love that combination.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, also it's like I feel like sometimes when I'm around projectors and I know they're amplifying my energy, I'm sitting because I'm used to this energy. Like this is just me. But if you have a projector that's amplifying your energy, they're going to look like they have more energy than you.
Yes.
As you know,
Yes.
being in a relationship with one.
Yes. Yes, totally.
So, let's start off with a question that we ask every guest. How were you introduced to human design?
Through my lovely spiritual cult group I was in. Like,
Hey,
it
how ironic.
was ironic, yes, and not the one leading it, but there's such a group of beautiful individuals I met in that kind of spiritual group around Bentinho Massaro.
Mm-hmm.
And this was around 5 years ago, and I put up my chart and I saw it, and two things were happening. So deep down, there was this knowing, like, okay, there's a shit ton of information here. Like, there's value. Like, I could feel it, and at the same time, I gave up immediately. It was like, and so many people I've heard this from. Like, I saw it, and I was like, oh, I already knew intuitively this is going to be a lot of work to decode all the gold.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I, I don't feel like this right now. So it had to be kind of reintroduced. And then slowly I started unpacking, and I'm like all in or kind of nothing generally with these kind of things. And later I learned I'm consecutive, and I can really, really recognize this in how I deal with the information. So if the right information is presented to me, I will extract it till the last drop, like squeeze it out. And for months on end, I just went down the rabbit hole and, gathered anything and everything I could gather.
Did you feel that sense of like permission slip that many of us talk about when you started to learn about yourself through your design?
Not immediately. So I was really confused, and it's hard to go back to this because I'm so intimate with the terms right now, but responding didn't fully make sense to me. And I was really put off by, I was reading all the time because it was 5 years ago and it was not as popularized yet. Like Jenna Zoe was my main kind of Instagram source. She was really kind of focal at that point. So I read a lot of just, original material, and it was like these sounds of like, and and but if you write those sounds out, because I like reading when it comes to human design, it looks really, really strange. And then I tried to copy those sounds, and I was like, no way, like this just makes no sense to me. It cannot land like on an intuitive level. So the whole responding thing, I put that off for maybe dabbled into it a bit, but it just wouldn't land. But there were other things, reading them, like my sun gate, and then very soon I also landed in the gene keys, like those specific gates and their qualities. I was like, oh, that's beautiful. Like that's, and very soon I would, look up other people. I would actually study other people more than I would study my own chart in the beginning, just to gather evidence. Like I wanted to check, like, is this really working? Is this really true?
Yeah, I think a lot of us have had. Go ahead.
There's always a lags. I was just saying I can
Yeah.
relate to that because it felt like it's hard to see, especially I know you're a second line as well, and it's hard to see ourselves. And so even when I had the information, I could definitely
Yeah.
recognize the emotional component because there's been so many times where I'd made quick emotional decisions and then it turned into a disaster. And also the responding piece was something that I could feel was true, but my mind was so upset about it that it was almost like I couldn't even take in the information. But as soon as I started kind of sharing it with other people, and be like, does this land for you? Does this resonate? And then finding out my mom was a projector and being like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. That's when it started really feeling real to me. So it wasn't even so much myself at first, not until I started having readings is where it actually started to click.
Same. And I know it's like a minority, but I really want to add a special note for every 5-2 profile to give some recognition as to what a projection labyrinth you can get completely lost into. Because I think there's a lot of talk how other people project onto you, and like that has been recognized. But the actual experience of living in like a double projection field of and the line 2 and the line 5, what I did is I took a ton of those projections and I had built my own like pink castle of it in which I was, almost full-time living. So to kind of start deconstructing that is a job like that really takes some, in my case at least, it really took some work. So yeah, thank you for bringing in the line 2 component there.
I've always thought that must be such a trip to have both projected
Yeah.
lines.
Yeah, that is the perfect word. That's also when I say that when I love this because now I'm looking at you, I'm responding to you, but having both an environment arrow that points to the right where I'm not always liking to be looked at, and then those 2 projected lines, when I just sit in front of a camera and try to talk, for my stories or, record a video, I can get lost in my own projection field because now I can see my own effect in the camera. I'm like, what am I seeing then? I get really like trippy, like seeing my own projections. So I rather do these kind of things where I just sit with you and not have all that attention on myself.
Yeah. I've talked to other second lines at least that have said they like to watch videos back of themselves so they can learn about themselves. And me too, because even with that observer arrow, I'm like observing myself and
Exactly.
then I can actually see how other people might perceive me.
I love that. Yeah, exactly. I really say with that line 2, I'm relating to everything and anything. Like when I'm in the forest, I'm relating to the forest. When I'm dancing, I want to dance in front of a mirror because I have that. It makes sense, right? You have the line 1 and it's just with itself and it goes inward. But then the line 2, it goes out of the cave and it finds new things and it wants to kind of commune and dance with them. So when I dance and I have a mirror, I have something I can kind of bounce off of. And it feels way better than just being in this kind of isolated cocoon. And when I'm struggling with something, like a year ago, I had a huge, like this money struggle moment where I'm like, okay, it's time to go into it. I'm like, I'm going to build a relationship with money. I'm going to start dating it. I'm going to ask it questions. And for me, that's been hugely helpful.
Yeah. So speaking of that and building relationships with things, I want to jump to you working with clients because that's where my mind just went. You really encourage people to build a relationship with themselves on a completely different level through the lens of human design, but it's so freeing. How did you stumble across combining these things, marketing and human design, in such a tasteful way that you do?
Mm. It's so enjoyable to have questions that turn me on. So I actually feel excited to respond. I never could have thought this out. So I want to say this to my previous self and to anybody who right now is like, maybe they're a manifesting generator, maybe they're not, but they're like, I like this, but it's not the full thing I want to offer. There are other things, and that you don't feel that overview of like, these are all the things I want to combine or to offer. 15 years ago, my aunt asked me, can you do copywriting? She was a coach, and she needed to have her leaflets to be transported to a website. So going from offline to online, and that they needed different text for that. And I love that. And the journey I've made is from copywriting to basically building websites for people. And every time I wanted to go deeper in the sense of I'm copywriting, but hey, if it's going to land on a shitty website, it's not really going to work. So let's build the website. And I was like, I'm building a website, but hey, if nobody reads it, I'm like, this makes no sense. So, let's help them do some marketing and actually also, have people come to their website. And then I think the biggest stumbling block came where it's like, wait a moment. I'm actually good at marketing. I love expression. I love when people step forward and come out of the closet with who they are. But I realized most people who were coming to me had no clue who they are and what they actually wanted to offer. And I was like, this feels like the shittiest thing I've ever offered. Like, I'm helping you blow up, but what I'm blowing up is like your non-authentic self. I'm like, oh, this is the stupidest thing I could offer. Like, I'm even making it bigger now. And that's the moment somebody introduced me to the concept of calling. And that changed everything for me. The idea, I have been looking for 10 years in everything I did, what is my calling? Is it this thing? Is it being a marketer? Is it being a coach? Is it being that? But what I didn't realize, I was looking all the time at these roles and these doing things. And I got introduced into quality of being. You're here to connect with, and automatically by doing that, spread into the world. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense, because that can be the foundation of everything, not just my business, but also how I relate, also how when I'm buying bread, that calling is still guiding me. And all of a sudden, I started giving calling sessions for a year, and kind of adding some coaching. And every time, I had no clue where it's going. Something new showed up. So Human Design showed. I was like, okay, pretty soon I was sitting with people and not giving readings. I've never called it readings, but just giving you a peek into your chart. Mm-hmm. And that was my way of learning it way faster, like doing the actual thing and going into other people's charts. And then after that whole journey, I was like, oh, wait a moment. All of a sudden, marketing knocked at my door again. It's like, now you have the right tools to bring marketing in a way that it feels good for you, that you want to do it, and not in the way you've been trained into. And I think human design gave the final clicking piece, because I like recipes. I like practical tools. So just saying to people, oh, you do you, babe, you follow what feels good for you. We're so freaking conditioned how to really fully know what's good for me. So when human design landed in my lap, I was like, now I can offer marketing in the way I want to. That feels really, really good. And just mind you, for 7 years, I had no clue where it's going. And I don't know, I just feel this passion to my younger self. Everybody's like, I want to be there. Like, I want to reach that point. I want to reach that success. And I think that ties into our topic of how I found out that most of the times when I had that feeling, this in a way was a trauma response. This was the part in me that had been so disillusioned as a child and so feeling not recognized, not seen, but at the same time feeling there is gold inside of me, that I started to build these fantasies, these pink castles. So I realize every time I have this huge impatience for, can my business finally succeed and have that like kind of recognition? Like, looking back now, I know like that was that really broken little part of me that thought that this was the solution to have this like huge fantasy. And the reality right now is quite different. It's way more simple than my fantasy ever was. And at the same time, it's way richer because the fantasy was located here and I could never bring it onto earth. But what's happening now in my business, I can feel it in my body, and my body is guiding me all the way. So nothing can beat that.
Wow. And I just, I have so much praise, because I hope the people that are watching are really feeling the frequency, because this is what Ayla brings in her containers with clients. I have worked with her, and you would think that, oh, she's looking at your human design chart and telling you what you can do based on your human design chart. Maybe that's what some people are thinking. And that's not it at all. It's almost like you are able to look at, like, reflect back to them what their qualities are, and then you're like, let's like know your limitations, and then let's blast through them. Like, those aren't actually your limit. Like, that's not who you are. Like, let's go beyond that. Because I want to speak on, when I was in your container, I got tripped up on the word possibility just from what I know in my chart, that I'm probability view. It was just this big light bulb moment, because when we were working on like callings, that word possibility came up for me, and I was like, I can't be possibility because of my mind and my chart. And you were like, no, that is, I mean, like, the way that you like held that and nurtured that, the possibility that it was okay to be in possibility. And I was like, fuck, that changed my life. Like, I was like, that one call, and I was just like, how you are just able to get in there and focus on like the essence of somebody, understanding their design, understanding human design language, but focus on their essence and just like pull that out of people. Such a
I had forgotten about that moment. But yes, to me, it's always you first. Yeah. Your essence comes first before everything. And that's why I appreciate that I've been going through all these super unhealthy relationships through the weirdest kind of cults you can think of. And I've given away myself over and over and over again, and tasted all the different options of giving yourself away, all the different versions. And because of that, this resolution, or you could say revolution, with my cross, you know, birthed into me of like, not anymore under my watch. Like, that's not gonna happen anymore. And that's why I'm actually glad I didn't connect to human design earlier, because I kind of have a feeling I would have turned it into another mental solution to fix my problems. Yes. Instead of as just like, when I look in the mirror to see if I have put my lipstick right, the mirror is not my boss. Like, I look in the mirror, it's like, oh, I will correct it a little bit. So human design is just like, oh, I recognize myself. I resonate with that. I'm just checking things. But it's not my boss, like, in any way. It's my servant, I would say. And that's maybe a strange language, but it's my support. And I use it in the way I want to use it. And that example you gave is so beautiful. Like, you having probability view and like, okay, then that turning into kind of a tunnel vision. So I cannot have anything to do with possibility. I'm just listening to your body, to your energy, and you talk about possibility, and you're like lighting up. You're like, ooh. And I'm still not sure, but my hypothesis is that my 1949 channel of sensitivity between the root and the solar plexus, to me, it feels like it has some projector qualities, or it has these qualities to really subtly pick up the energy another person is emanating. And that, in combination with the fact that I have a projector boyfriend who kind of teaches me everything I need to learn about projectors, all of a sudden, like, more than half of my clients is a projector, which is really, really fascinating to me. Yeah.
How do you handle it, or how do you balance when you might have a client that is kind of mentally using their chart to hold themselves back, kind of in the example Brandy gave? Because I mean, I definitely find that my mind will do that sometimes with myself, and in conversation with other people in design as well. You know, it's kind of this thing on, well, this is in my chart, so I can't do that, or this is in my chart, so I can't do that, or this is all I am. And it feels really, you know, because I understand it's a tool and it's so empowering. It's really helped me give myself permission as an emotional and a second line to step away from these platforms. And I have so much conditioning around showing up every day and, you know, all of these marketing conditioning factors. And it's so helped me with that. But it's like, you kind of have to balance it, right? So how do you balance it with people that are just like so in their mind about it?
Like, the depth of the conditioning shows me that one tool in a way is not enough, because it might, if there's not so much resistance, we're willing to take what feels resonant from the chart. But when there's a lot of things going on, we might use the chart to actually condition ourselves. And that's why I never give human design sessions first, never, to anyone. Because human design is quite a mental tool. So when I start with human design, there's this risk of kind of getting lost in this realm. And that's why I always start with, let's build like a safety valve, like something you can come back to that's not your chart. So we don't get lost as easily. And that to me is the calling. I always start with that. And it's so nonlinear. I cannot also explain it. Right now, talking to you, I can only say that at the end of that first session, people are either crying or laughing or dumbfounded, or like something visceral has happened. And the mind is almost always protesting. Your calling is like tasting the sweetness of life. It's like, come on, are people gonna take you seriously? Or your calling is all about sparkling, but come on, there's, like, that's not all there is. It's like the mind will really come up with all these stories, and that's how I know we're going in the right direction. It's like because the calling is so different from the mental processes, I use it kind of like, now we have an anchor you can always come back to. Like, that is you. So in my case, my calling is all about people shining their lights. And I can feel it. It's like, it's a frequency. It's the thing that when I go into a piece of human design text and I feel myself dulled down, I'm like, oh, wait a moment. Like, no, we're not going there. Mm-hmm. And that's like one of the ways that I prevent. And then next, when we're going into the human design session, I'm never starting with like, let me explain your human design, which would be easy because the gate of answer is in my sun. And it's very kind of like seductive to give all the answers. But as a manifesting generator, I want to respond. So bring me your questions, and it doesn't have to be related to your chart. Give me something in your marketing, in your business that's like, that's like icky, that's like not working. And then I take the chart and then I come alive and the chart comes alive. And kind of every sentence I say, I will go like, zzz, zzz. I'm like checking, is it landing? Or is this actually bringing you further into your mind? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my way of working with that.
Yeah, I'd love to tie this, kind of like marry this in with spirituality, because the call, having a calling, and, you and I both have experience with the similar cult leader, and how that can be kind of traumatizing. And then sometimes human design is a reprieve from that, but we can take it too far. So let's talk about balancing that.
So to clarify, balancing leading into spirituality and staying connected with yourself.
Yeah, and maybe even the relationship of, because I know for me it was like finding human design, and then I kind of not pulled away, but it was like more concrete after maybe like spiritual trauma type of situations, So yeah, balancing, like remaining with yourself. I know human design helps us do that, and there's lots of other tools that do that. So I guess, what was that like for you, coming out of that experience, the experiences that you've had with cults and spirituality?
The last 1.5 months has been really, really intense for me, because for those who don't know, around Bentinho Massaro, the group I was affiliated to, like, there's been all kinds of people standing up and sharing their truth of how much pain they've been going through in connection to him. And I've already done quite some healing, but this invited me to go a few layers deeper. And honestly, this weekend, something came up again around that, and I was pulled into completely away from myself. But because of being a year in therapy right now, and I love, Teresa, that you're also kind of combining the parts work with the human design, and that's my parts work became one of my love languages. IFS therapy. It has trained me so last weekend I was crashed, like waves of insecurity. I was mega fawning, so pleasing. I wanted to do everything right to my boyfriend. Like, am I saying the right thing? Which normally I'm really quite myself with him. And at the same time, there was like this 5% me, like maturity still present, right? Like, okay, I can observe this, I can watch this. And seeing, like, I've had a sexual relationship with some of the authority figures from this group. And at the time, I thought this was what I wanted. And these are the hardest kind of things to face, because I've never said like, no, I actually don't want this. But when I look back at it, I'm like, this person had like a role of authority, and I trusted them. They supported me for a long time. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, they come with like a sexual proposition, like a super, and I could, right now, not at that moment, but when I look back, I realized, wow, I was so deeply trained to go off of the other person's frequency and match that. That was like my main protection mechanism, matching energies, fawning, kind of, molding myself to what the other person wants, that I just clicked into that, like click. And now when I look back, it's been really intense for the last 6 weeks, because I see like, wow, that shit goes deep. But to be able to decipher all these layers is really, really valuable. And I'm really, really grateful for that. But I'm I'm falling apart every week and just crashing, and like everything just dissolves. And then the next day I'm like, working in my business, and my mind even doesn't understand it. But I can see that this has been like a huge initiation for me. And I don't even know anymore what you asked, because this kind of took me over. But the whole kind of spiritual world has given me the insight about how I can give myself away so easily. So I don't follow anything anymore. Like, really, 99% of what I see around spirituality is this is how it works. And there's so much kind of subtle shaming for where you are right now, or subtle nudging, this is where you should be, or how you should approach this. It's like, you name it, whether it's Joe Dispenza, Abram Hicks, like all these kind of things. Every now and then I try it. So I will listen to an hour of Joe Dispenza, and when it rocks your boat, awesome, like enjoy it. And then I see where I am after that hour, and I get riled up, like the pink castles, like my protection mechanism gets like immediately activated. I'm like, ooh, I could reach this, I could reach that. And I can feel that almost kind of like greediness being activated. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I want to be right here, right now, in my body, and live my life and discover what my life will be. But I'm going to stop kind of creating these images because it's freaking tiring. And it takes me away from here, from this connection. And anything that does that, I'm like, nope, not going there.
That's such a good point. I feel like for a lot of us that come from the spiritual space where everything is so, it's hard with spirituality because it's all belief systems. We don't have hard facts, proof about anything. It's all just what you believe. And when an authority figure comes at you with, this is the truth, and I know this is the truth, and you're an impressionable person like I would do the fawning thing too, and I was just kind of a sponge taking it all in, and okay, this is the truth. And then there would come a point where I'd flip-flop. I'd be like totally believing it, and then I would 180 in the other direction and be like, this is ridiculous, this doesn't make any sense. It's almost like snapping out of a dream. And so when you come from that world where you're questioning your own internal nudges because, oh, that could be trauma, or that could be, whatever it is that spiritual people use trauma to manipulate you, which is so effed up. But it's really your own internal mechanism, your own authority telling you, hey, something's up here, something's up. And so when you come from that space where you're almost taught not to trust yourself and you need to trust the leader, and then you come to human design and it's like, no, actually only you have the answers within you and you have to trust yourself. It's so refreshing, and it can be really easy to just swing the pendulum all the way to the other way and be like, human design is the answer to everything. Human design could solve all my problems. So yeah, I really enjoyed your share around that because it's like coming back to the center, and the thing that I do love about human design is I've specifically heard a Ra quote where he's like, now forget everything I taught you and go on and live your life, because the system is not meant to have a cuckold on us. Like it's not meant to control our entire lives. We're meant to just experiment, and ultimately your authority is going to guide you, and that your authority might tell you, don't ever look at human design again.
Yeah, and this is such a beautiful kind of having told all of this about spirituality, I realized myself again how much it helped me with seeing all the bullshit that's going on in the marketing world. Because ultimately, it's not that much different. It's just which carrot will seduce you the most. And for some people, that's the spiritual carrot. It's like, ooh, nom, 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 nom. And for other people, it's the marketing, success, 50K, manifestation, etc., etc., etc. carrot. That's like a huge carrot. And it's the area where actually often your biggest desires are, where you're often most manipulable, if that's even if that's a word. Because there's this huge desire, it's like I want to have that so badly, but often there's also an unconscious feeling like I'm not sure if I can make it on my own, if I can reach that place. So it becomes easier to make compromises and to kind of, I honestly built a talent to sweep kind of things I heard or read that didn't really fit with my tunnel vision toward that desire to kind of like, I was like a master editor. Like, oh, let's leave this piece out and let's leave this little nudge also out. And then I'm only going to take this. And this serves kind of this goal I want to move towards. And I've never been really kind of deeply struck into the marketing bullshit because I had already had so many lessons in the whole spiritual world. But the mechanism is very similar, and almost every person who comes to me comes from some kind of marketing guru, coach, and is kind of like bogged down by like, ugh, this really didn't feel good. Please, let's do it differently.
Yeah, I can really see your behavior gate 10-6 and 10-3 like playing in this entirety, like the martyr and the role model. Just you're like, I've done that, I've trial and error that, I'm trial and erroring this, and then you have this beautiful way of role modeling to everybody else.
I was wondering why I wanted to keep calling you a role model.
Yeah.
Innocence meditation also, right, has that same kind of quality. I like somebody also mentioning Tony Robbins here because I think he's still so revered, and like so many people look up to him. But yeah, when you really start watching his seminars and especially how he treats women, I was like, but every detail, like in your marketing, to me, your voice is your marketing. To me, your demeanor is your marketing. It's not just that post, like your energy expresses into every little detail of who you are. So when I hear Tony Robbins' voice, which is completely dead and like this raspy kind of overused, I'm like, that, and then it kind of already ends. And again, this can be different for other people. That's that line 6 quality of like, I'm gonna tell you like what to do, but I can tell you my experience, and this is mine.
Yeah, and speaking of like Tony Robbins and Bentinho Mazzaro, it's always fascinating to look at their human design charts.
I did it for a long time.
Because when we look at Bentinho Mazzaro's chart, I'm like, he's like living his design. You know? Like, you can kind of have this like, it's not making it the right thing to do in the world, but you're like, that's just how that person is designed. And it's just
the shadow version. Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
The shadow version. Yeah, absolutely the shadow version. But you're like, wow, you can really see how design plays out in leaders, like looking at how they are, and
yes,
and just noticing like, oh yeah, you're a projector guiding, mastering a system, a new way of being, you know, and you're like, wow. There's no denying.
I didn't realize, but like when I saw his chart, I realized how it's possible for projectors to be so manipulative because they have so much awareness, right? And they can weaponize that awareness if they're not aware of themselves, you know, because I love projectors, and I just think they're so magical. And to see, like what you said, maybe the shadow side, whatever we want to call it, of that was really interesting because, you know, projectors are leaders, and to see him taking his leadership and his authoritative role and seeing others put him on a pedestal and him using his awareness against people was really, or to hear the stories of it was just such a trip.
Next level kind of.
Yeah. And talk about projector aura, being in aura with him, he just like, you're like, whoa, should have guessed. You're just like, yeah, it's very, very interesting to look at their charts. We have a couple questions. Um, do you want to take any questions, Ayla?
It depends. So I find I've seen a few, but I'm really focused. So if it's going too much into another direction, I saw a question about my relationship with the projector, and I love that question. So I could honestly talk about that for an hour. But if it's like within the realm of like these themes, totally yes.
Yeah, I feel like we could tie this one
consecutive.
Yeah. And I'm going to kind of shift this question to kind of bring it to what we're talking about. It says, how do you react to people saying that human design is not facts? So when people come to you for marketing, are you ever met with objection and based on human design not being a fact that it's, they might think it's subjective when it's more actually objective?
I kind of like that because I think it can shed light. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remove. Oh, anyway, all the comments are kind of. I cannot see your face anymore, but it kind of can shed light in the way I've designed my business. So, first of all, that has never happened to me. Mm. But why did this never happen? Because my sales page and my Instagram send out my frequency. And I saw another question, I think 20 minutes back, like about audiences and, you know, how you pick audiences or something. And I think this ties in really nicely with that. It's like, my audience finds me and my energy and kind of clicks in with that. And it's like, ooh, that feels good. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're sitting to a fire and like, I'm enjoying this. This feels good. And if I would doubt about human design myself, I would probably attract these people. And they will kind of, you know, show me that and kind of that I'm still not fully embracing it. But they're, from kind of moment one, I've been so passionate about human design that if you're not, it's even hard to kind of, you know, enter my field because you're like, I have nothing to do here. There's no space for that kind of frequency. Mm-hmm. So one time actually when you were in Marketing My Way in the course, there was one person joining, and when she joined, she said, oh, is this all based on human design? And I'm like, yeah, most of it is. She's like, oh, I really don't like human design. It's like, and she mentioned all the things she didn't like. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. It might have not been completely clear on my sales page. I was kind of assuming, so here's your money and, you know, enjoy your life. But that was kind of like an accident. But I'm not even going to try to, you know, do anything with her. Because it feels like a waste of my energy. Mm-hmm. So that's not something that comes up generally for me.
Mm-hmm. It's like almost like you don't need to prove anything to anyone. So, and that's always the stance that I've had is like, if you're in front of me and you want to work with me, then I don't have anything to prove to you. And if you're trying to get me into that state of proving, then we're not correct for each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I really like how just through who you are and how you operate, you really express like what you respond to and how it, like looking at your chart, I'm like nurturing your skills, your fixed rhythm. You're just very much, you're only responding, you're very in tune with your sacral response. Even as a split definition, just looking at what you're responding to, I'm just like, wow, you're really only responding to those things that kind of fit into that, but not from the mind space. Just you're kind of emanating that.
Even in a session and we are already working together, when they ask me a question and I'm like, there's not really a response. generally I will not answer that question. Also, in between the sessions, I even have like a disclaimer, like, you can send me any question you have, but I cannot guarantee I will answer every question you have. Because when I answer because I have to, it will not really a valuable answer for you. And generally what I found out that in a session when I'm not excited about answering a question, often there's something behind that question. There's a question behind that question, or a lot of fear behind that question. And what I am responding to is like, oh, let's listen. What's actually happening? What is happening behind that question? And then it becomes juicy again. So I'm constantly listening in the session, like, is this juicy? Am I curious? Am I like wanting to go in there? Or am I like, meh, like, yeah, like, nah.
Oh, I can so relate. It's like,
Yes.
you just feel like there is no energy for the question. It's almost not like I get annoyed with the question, but it's like my body just shuts down at the question.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question. Any lessons you've learned about making space for slow developments towards success in your life?
I love that question. From Fibrous Pulp. Isn't that a nice Instagram handle? It's like, I get immediately curious when I like. So let me actually tune in, because that's kind of a deep question, and I can feel so many energies in this space. I really enjoying, for everybody who's joining, thank you for joining and bringing your energy, because it feels really activated, like in a good way. It feels really, really alive. So first of all, I started slow. So let's bring it back to this moment where you are, like, where you're sitting right now. Is I'm talking, and constantly I'm bringing myself back to myself. So when you ask this question, Mrs. or Mr. Vibus Probe, I could have gone like what I did in the past, is like running towards your question and like, I gotta give you this answer. And then you see like how I'm kind of being pulled out of myself. But now I'm like, okay, let me first taste this question. Let me see what feels good for me here. Because I don't owe like anybody anything at this moment. I'm just enjoying what's here right now. So I'm speaking and I'm feeling my pelvis. I'm like, I'm listening to my voice, because when it goes up, I always know I kind of get a little bit activated, or I might move towards my mind a little bit more. And my voice has been really going down over the last years, and it's pretty low right now. But I know that's me coming from down here. I feel, for every generator, manifesting generator, speak from your sacral. Not like as a mental concept again, but something to kind of explore, like, how would that feel? So that's number one. It's like the micro moments. I'm allowing myself to be slow. So in the micro moments, I quit thinking I need to be quick in answering you and coming back. So I did the opposite. I'm like, I gotta slow down here. Let's sit. Or I will close my eyes for a moment. And that's been really, really helpful. But you're asking about the slow success. So what I'm doing is I'm actively embracing the visions that come to me. I'm not like, blocking all of that. And they will come to me at certain points. I received, like, to me, the last 2 months kind of going to really, really deep layers of my own pain and trauma went hand in hand with completely new fields opening and visions. And it's like almost like whatever that pain was blocking is kind of opening. And I'm seeing a whole new kind of realm. And I'm seeing new products, courses, things like for my business. So I'm actively embracing that. But when I receive it, before I would go, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to execute this? Like, let's make some steps. And right now I'm just receiving it. I'm like, great, thank you. And the only way I use it is now I'm better able to recognize the things that will come my way at a certain point that I can respond to. So in a way but this was for me personally, and this would be different for different people. But this summer, all my visions died. Like all my big success kind of dreams, I had to put them into the fire and kind of let go of them. And again, this is my personal, I had gone through every possible way of kind of chasing for it. And I was so exhausted and so kind of done with it. I'm like, fuck it. Like, no. It's like, instead of me going there, I want to be here. I want to be with me. So I'm going to reframe my notion of success being present with myself. My notion of success, like, I've learned something new today. I've grown. My notion of success is this post might have totally flopped, but it gave me a new insight. So that's success to me. So I built all these new notions of success that pointed me in a fruitful direction instead of into a direction that only pulls me more and more into my mind. So those two things, like in the small moments and kind of reframing my whole way of success. And then I realized this summer, it's like, what do I really want to do? Like, if I really fuck all the rules there around marketing, business, and I'm like, they don't exist. I'm like, I just want to have fun with my expression. I want to play on Instagram. I love Instagram. I love Canva. I love creating things. I love playing with human design concept, but then translating them in like a really like tangible, juicy way. That's it. Mm-hmm. So that's what I started doing. And when I started doing that, it started feeling so good because I was doing what I loved. I could feel the recognition that came from that and the kind of confirmation of, oh, I'm already feeling successful. I didn't sell more, my business didn't grow on a kind of obvious way, but I feel successful, like or satisfaction, right? If you want to use that word for the generator, I don't really care, but by just doing this thing that speaks to me. Mm-hmm. So that's my very short answer to your question.
It really feels like when you're pausing and like soaking it in to like see if you have a response for that, it's like you're feeling if it's satisfying. You're finding your satisfaction. Like it's satisfying watching you like pause into that. And that's why I was like, it's almost like you're like, is this satisfying? Yeah. And as that fifth line, is this seducing me? As that. Yeah.
My Sungate 4.5, the name of it is seduction.
Yeah. Youthful follow seduction. Yeah.
Yes. Gosh, I feel seduced right now.
I know.
I'm seducing myself constantly. I'm like, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
You really like bring that into this space. It's just this seductive vibe. I love it.
And don't forget the 5-2, right? I need to call myself out. So you can throw anything at me, but then I need to go like, yeah, like I'm gonna recreate this in my way and gonna kind of bring this out of myself. I'm gonna pick what I want to bring out here. So it's really kind of a creative moment also. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Nice. Yeah, that I always forget about that with the 5-2, how it is about it's calling yourself out, because as me as a 2-4, I need to be called out, but it's different for the 5-2.
Yes. It was really weird to read that in the beginning. It's like, what does that mean? Like, how does that even work? And that's with most things. You kind of need to forget about it, put it like kind of, in the back. And then at a certain point, you're like, oh, I've experienced this thing. Oh, it's matching with this thing I read. And then it's like, click, and then it becomes alive. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also just noticing where all these different parts of your design, how you're embodying that, because almost to what your smell cognition. And so when you're pausing, you're like taking in data, taking a big breath of, is this, what information am I pulling out? So it's really fantastic to see like the magnetism, the alignment that you just naturally exude without being like human design in your face type. Yes. So what are you currently doing in your business right now? What are you currently offering?
Just one thing to kind of keep it easy. A journey, an initiation. And it's either 3 sessions or 6 sessions. And it's this combination of the calling, connecting to your own energetic core, and then moving into translating human design practically to you, to your questions, to what you need, and having like these practicums, like, okay, we're going to, like, after these sessions, like having these little excursions, let's go to your website now. We have these resources, your calling, your human design, and let's feel into the frequency. And then kind of playing with it. Like, nobody who comes to me likes their about me page, for example. Like, nobody. They're all like, oh, I hate that thing, and like I don't know where to start. And so really what I like doing is creating that playground. Okay, moving away all those preconceptions, all those notions. And then I remember working with a manifestor, and this website, expert had told them, you cannot, it's not good if you first have a kind of picture you have to click on before you enter the website, because it's an extra click. But she was enjoying it, and it was adding to the layer of mystery that she's offering as somebody who's working with sacred ceremonies and, plant work and medicine work. Like, we turned that whole thing around where this is not a good idea, from kind of top down to like listening to her and listening to what she's offering and how beautiful of a match this kind of first pictures was. Like, are you sure you're going to enter here? Like, you're going to enter like a little bit of a different realm. And I'm not somebody, and my offerings are also not something which are just consumable at, one click, like easy. Like, there's layers here. So deconstructing it and then reconstructing it from a place of, this fits for me, whether it's about their Instagram or their website, etc., etc. And that's the only thing I'm offering. I'm, in that sense, again, you could say I'm not a OMG from the kind of superficial image. I'm offering one thing. I only have 2 session days in a week. And when there's 4 or 5 sessions in a week, that's more than enough for me. Like, because I go so deep in these sessions, and I want to have like all this space to create. I want to create things, my 1A channel. I want to express myself. So that's really an important pillar of my business. And what I'm working on right now is, for the first time, I'm going to create like an online course. For the first time, I'm going to bring my marketing foundation. So what I've kind of talking about right now, giving like this tip of the iceberg, together. Like this whole energetic approach to marketing, to really unpack that and give an alternative to kind of all that dogmatic stuff that's being put out there around marketing. I find we need something to kind of outbalance that. And that's really turning me on right now. And I remember 10 years ago, I was, sniffing, into the business world, and everybody was talking about online courses and you gotta step out there, and everybody has something to offer. And again, I think this is so tricky to play into that notion of anybody can do this. And I really want to say no, it's only a handful of people in this very moment who reach that moment of going from the seed to growing into the tree and then bearing fruit. It's a timing thing. Like, you cannot say to somebody who is halfway their pregnancy is like, okay, you're ready to birth that baby. It's like, no, there is a whole maturation process going on there. And 10 years ago, I thought I needed to be able to push out that baby. But the whole baby hadn't even started yet in my belly. Like, there were so many lessons I still had to go through. And it's kind of this bittersweet, but mostly sweet moment of looking back at all the moments I thought I needed to be ready to offer an online course and create this passive income and yada, yada, yada. And this is the first time where it makes sense on an embodied level. It's already there because I've sat with the one-on-one clients. It's already come out of my mouth. Like, I've already spoken the words. I'm just going to rearrange them in a different way so that they will be accessible to more people. So I would say "you're not ready" is almost kind of like a motivational, like the new motivational quote, because you will know when you're ready. You will feel it. It will be very, very clear, and you won't have to really like think about it. I'm gonna cool down a tiny bit. Yes.
Yeah, it feels like you're really touching on the pressure that a lot of us feel as entrepreneurs, people that are self-employed, when anytime there's kind of a trend in the space to hop on it and want to have all of these different sources of income, when in reality it might not be correct for the person at that moment. And it's just kind of touching back to timing is everything.
Yeah.
And for me, if ever I feel pressured or nervous around something and it's feeling like I have to just get it out quickly, or I'm telling myself I should be doing something, I know it's not the right timing. And when I don't meet resistance, like when Brandy and I put together our intensive, it was just, okay, next step. And we were just cruising through it. It didn't feel like work. It didn't feel hard. And there weren't roadblocks. It was just everything flowed. And the way that I feel in this container is I'm like, this is how I always want to feel with work. And we talk a lot about frequency anchors, and especially as a generator, having that frequency anchor of this is what this sacral satisfaction and this joy feels like. And this is how I want to feel in my work, you know?
Yes. I love that word cruising. I'm like, ooh. I really, really
It's
like
like
that.
swerving it on a lane, not hitting any red lights. You're just moving.
Yes. Yes. This really weird image came probably because, 10 years ago, I was part of this tantra cult where it was all about semen retention, and I have kind of a knack of using weird metaphors because I know they will stick better. But it's like that idea that you hold it back and then you build up the juice. I don't fully subscribe to that anymore, but I do subscribe to it when it comes to my inspirational juice. So 2 weeks ago, I was just reorganizing my whole laptop and reading through all my human design notes I've made. I'm left brain, left mind. So my Evernote is like these folders with subfolders with every possible human design topic. And some people get really scared of the level of organization that's there. But it's really juicy for myself. I was reading through it and I was like, ooh, this is good material. I want to kind of refine it. And I'm like, oh, why not make a post out of it? Like, I'm doing this for myself, but, let's make a post out of it. And so this post, this whole thing blows up on Instagram. And then there's this part within me that's like, I gotta show my face. I gotta surf on this success. I gotta make use of this. And so many of these voices came up. And that's the moment where I've learned, you know what I'm gonna do? It's like, I'm gonna sit back, like almost like a contrabalance. Like, the more nervousness I feel and the more kind of like pressure and ideas, the more I'm kind of like just chill and go sit back and wait till something organically just moves through me again. But that kind of retention, I feel, instead of showing up all the time on Instagram with my emotional solar plexus, but also with my line 5, who's the general who wants to come in, bring its, stuff, and like, I'm done here, we've solved some crisis or whatever, and I'm gonna leave the field again. It's like, in my silence, it's my juices will kind of refill and like my inspiration will grow, so that when I step out, people can feel that instead of me kind of milking myself and all the time extracting my own kind of energies and inspiration.
Yeah, you give me so much permission as an emotional being, because it's like your silence still speaks. When you're not active, I still feel you. And having that experience gave me the permission to be like, I'm going to step away, go into hermit land, be in my own process, and not feel like I'm chained to this app, because there's definitely something that happens when I'm feeling like I need to force things and when I'm not giving myself my time to be with me. And this is probably, it's really a test to your authority and listening to your own body when there's all this conditioning around, you have to do this, you have to do that in order for your business to be successful, whatever. And I'm just throwing all of that away. So I just want to recognize you for being the role model for emotionals out there when it comes to running a business, because it really, it's just so helpful to see that.
slow business, slow marketing. My motto is slow is sexy. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I'm, yeah, I have no clue about time.
Oh, it's
Whoa.
10:30. Well,
Time flew.
Did we go for 1.5 hours?
we did.
This makes no sense to me. Like, no sense. So I'm starting to feel the impact of all the energy. So I will be okay with slowly kind of,
Yeah.
yes, North Node Taurus elect. Slowly kind of wrapping this off. See, that's where we go. Wrapping this off, like.
Yeah, it's like you can feel the sacral energy starting to power down. And
I saw you yawning. I was like, yes, yes, we've really given some energy fire here. And yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was really an honor for everybody to be able to experience your frequency and for us to pick your brain on the depth of knowledge that you have. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, there's part of me still a little bit shy. Like, I feel I've been so kind of loaded with recognition and being seen. And I'm moving towards this place where there's deeper connection with women and more kind of on a similar level, like, and having this connection is really precious to me, especially because it's not like we followed each other. Like, I've laughed about your reels and Eden, like Teresa's content, like the wildness of you going in all these different topics. I'm like, oh, I'm learning new things. Like, there is surprise here. And so thank you for creating this kind of space and really kind of showing that interviewing shouldn't always be this thing like, I'm going to nail this person down. We're going to really like hammer this thing in or direct this conversation, but way more like offering this beautiful stage with a really, really kind of joyful, positive foundation. So thank you. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
And if anybody wants to follow Ayla, she will be tagged in the caption. You can go check out her page, check out what she's up to. She has some amazing content. She nails it with Canva as well.
So I will, it's Ayla, and the easy way to remember, it's like island, but without the end. But I know in America, like, it's pronounced
it is
always Ayla, so yeah.
Well, they can go find you at your page. We will tag you. And yeah, thank you so much. I learned a lot. I hope that everybody who watched absorbed as much as we did, as much as the goodness. So thank you so much.
So for people who come on later, I want to say, if you add your questions, I'm an emotional being. I have no problem with slowness. So I will definitely come back here and open to answering them and have this thing continue if that feels right for you.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
And if you're watching, we do upload these on YouTube. So if you want to catch the full episode, you can watch them on YouTube as well.
Super cool.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much. See you later.